Hi, my name's Jade. My pronouns are they, them, she, her, and I am the curator of erotic pedagogy. So a lot of different things inspired this project in both my personal and academic life, but when I was trying to think of one memory or story to tell that really speaks to where it came from, one memory kept coming to mind. So when I was about 8 years old, I was at my friend Christine's house, and we were with our friend Flora. We were in her basement watching TV, and I'm not really sure what we were watching, but whatever it was, it prompted Flora to proclaim that all gay sex resulted in AIDS. And I'm not really sure where this came from or why I knew what she was saying was wrong, but I responded with like this deep rage and hurt when she made that statement, and we got in this huge fight. And this memory's always stuck out to me because at that time I didn't actively identify myself as queer or MB. I'm brown, but I didn't know about the racial logics around HIV and AIDS. I wasn't really aware of any of those politics, and I didn't know, or I wasn't aware if I knew anyone who was living with HIV or AIDS. I didn't have any sex-positive mentors, and I also was someone who didn't fight with people around me. I was queer and weird-looking. I was brown, I was fat, I was a really different kid in a very white conservative space. And so I didn't fight with my friends. I didn't fight with other kids, especially not white kids. I just wanted them to like me. But in that moment, even though I had no idea why I was mad, I had no idea of the deeper implications of what Flora was saying, and I wasn't someone who wanted to draw attention to myself and get into fights, I fought with her. And I think the conversation ended with us just being like, okay, we disagree. It didn't really go anywhere. But I've always carried that with me and thought about it as an adult. And what I think about now is that even though no one taught me why that was wrong, even though I didn't have an intellectual awareness of why it was wrong, I felt that it was wrong in my gut. And I think I felt that because I'd picked it up somewhere. I'd picked it up in community, I'd picked it up affectually or spiritually. I have picked it up in some way. I was connected to that. I just didn't have the language to say that I felt why I felt that way. I didn't have the language to defend myself or the knowledge around the harm and the misinformation that she was spewing to tell her that. At the same time, she was an 8-year-old kid that was saying that, and I don't think she really understood what she was saying. Someone had obviously sat her down and told her that, and then she repeated it. And so when I think about what really inspires these kind of projects is I want kids, even as young as 8 years old, to be able to say, no, that's not true, and this is why. I want them to be able to put words to what we feel in our souls, our guts, and our communities when we experience and live harm around things like gender and sex and race, and specifically sexual education, where there's so much misinformation and misconception, and that misconception is rooted in racist and sexist and transphobic and queerphobic stereotypes. I want kids to be able to hear a remark where someone says all gay sex equals AIDS and be like, no, this is wrong and this is why. And I also want people like Flora, who may not be directly connected to these communities, to not say those things, be taught that that is wrong, and to have information around that. I want kids that are experiencing racial and sexual trauma to be, and that trauma can be collective, it can be individual, it can just be the misconception around what certain sex is and what certain sexual relations are and what certain identities are around gender and race. I want them to say, no, that's not true, this is what I am. I want them to affirm themselves. And then I want people outside of those communities to be able to act in solidarity. I want children and young adults to be armed with the knowledge that I didn't have when I was confronted with violence that I knew was violence, that was cloaked as sexual education. So in the spirit of education, love, and solidarity, I invite you to explore erotic pedagogies and listen to the stories of queer, trans, Black, Indigenous, and people of color to learn more about anti-racist, LGBTQ inclusive sex education and to grow in community.